Well, I got nominated to preach this morning. Not in a way that I wanted to, but I done it. I'm not one to want to come up here in these spotlights. But I had a message God put on my heart, and the title of it is, "Are you one of these?" And it was talking. Ooh, what happened there, Harley? And I was talking. It was. It's over people complaining. You know, you hear complaints all the time these days about the least little old things. We complain about the weather, or our work, complain about the politicians. We've always got something to complain about. And we're all guilty. I'm guilty. Y'all are guilty. This morning I was in the bedroom praying, getting ready, and I'm going to step on my wife's toes a little bit. She knew I was going to. But I was in there praying, and she just started cutting loose her hair. Her hair wouldn't do right. So she was having a meltdown over her hair. Huh? I'm messing? So she, I'm thinking, keep on. So she did. She just kept complaining about her hair. And I'm thinking, this is pretty good. So in a minute she come in the bedroom, she said, she knew what I was going to preach. She said, your message is already working on me. So she finally got satisfied with her hair. Well, then she went to complaining about her breeches. And then her sweater. Everything she was complaining about. But, what is that? Thank you. So she knew I was going to step on her toes about that this morning. And now I'm going to hurt her feelings a little bit, but she'll forgive me. You know, I should have just took the time and said, Lord, I know my hair's a mess this morning, but I thank you for my hair. There's people out there taking chemo right now that don't have any hair. They would love to have that messed up hair. So y'all think about that next time you complain about these little old things. You know, Jesus said that we'll have tribulation. But he also said, be of good cheer, because I've overcome the world. So why don't we complain about these? It's just natural, I guess. You know, you complain about having to go home at night and cook supper. Well, thank God you got food to cook. There's people out there ain't got no food. Complaining about having to go home and mow your yard. Well, thank the Lord you got a yard. There's people living under a bridge. Now I'm going to step on my own toes. When this come about, pastor's got to be gone from time to time. And when he does, he wants one of us elders to preach. Well, I'm always the one to keep quiet. Because I like to stay back here in the back and take care of things. I don't like to be up here. Well, he's been gone 2 times already. And Kenneth and Brendan, they both stepped up. They took care of it. They done a good job. Pastor sent out this text last Monday and said, I'm not going to be here Sunday. My grandkids are getting baptized, or one of them. And me and Sheila's going to be there. Golly. I know what that means. And I'm waiting on Kenneth and Brendan to text back. Pastor said, I don't know who's going to preach, but y'all handle it. I'm waiting. But even there, one of them said, nothing. I thought, I know, Lord, it's my turn. I'm going to do it. But I still didn't say anything. I was still pondering on it. So Wednesday come along, we met here, and Kenneth and Brendan, here they come. You gonna preach? You gonna preach? And I said, y'all ain't got nothing? No, we ain't got nothing. I said, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I said, okay, I'll do it. But I was still trying to figure a way out of it. I went home and I thought, maybe I can call a presbyter. Maybe he'll preach. Or maybe somebody in the church would want to do it. But I could hear God going, nope, it's all on you. So I finally give in to it. And I said, God, I can't do it alone. I don't like getting up there and doing this. I got to have you to speak through me, and I got to have you to show me what to preach on. Well, he told me that all this griping and complaining that I've been doing, that was a pretty good subject right there. So he sent me to the Philippians 2:14 and 15. It says, do all things without complaining or disputing, that you become blameless and harmless children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. So I read that and I thought, what do you think that says to other people out there if you're complaining all the time? And you claim to be a Christian, but every time something doesn't go your way, you're complaining about it. If you're in the grocery store and it's full of people and you're trying to get out of there, you're complaining. If you're in traffic, you're stuck in traffic, you're complaining. If the boss says you got to work late, you're complaining. And it just goes on and on. So our light's not shining very bright if that's what we're doing and people are seeing this. Take a minute and pray about it. Thank God for what you do have. You know, there's times we got to do stuff here at the church and I hear people complain. Yeah, I'm going to step on them toes too. You know, people get asked to work in the nursery. And they do it, but we complain about it. Well, thank the Lord we got children in here that need nursery workers. Or if we have a work day and only a handful of men show up, well, every man in here ought to show up. The more of us there are, the better off we can be and get it done quicker and go home. Instead of complaining about why they want to take up my Saturday. I want to watch football. Anyways, I'm gonna go through a story that we all know well, but it kind of ties into what I'm talking about. And so the Lord led me to use this story. It's about Moses. Moses was called up to lead God's children from slavery from Pharaoh. Well, Moses, he was another one that he didn't like to be in the limelight. And so what did he do? He complained. I don't think I'd complain if a burning bush was talking to me, telling me I ought to be doing this. But Moses complained about it. Let's see what he said. You know, he told God that he didn't speak well, and he didn't do good at all this. Let's look at Exodus 4:10 through 13. It said, Then Moses said to the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. So the Lord said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be your mouth, and teach you what to say. But he said, O Lord, please, send by the name of whomever else you may send. So he didn't want to do it. So he's still arguing, but he finally done it. He gave in and went, but God did cut him a break. At least he let Aaron go speak for him. But it's another example of us complaining when we know God's telling us to do something. So Moses goes and tells all the children to get ready. We're fixing to get out of here. And God's going to lead us to the promised land. You know, they've been slaves all this time for Pharaoh. They're all excited, happy, but God's got a plan. You know, you'd think that he could just, God would just snap his finger and harden or soften Pharaoh's heart, and he'd just cut them loose. Or he'd just kill them over dead, whatever. But that's not how it works. God's got a plan, and you're going to follow God's plan, or you're going to go off on your own. So God knew Pharaoh wasn't going to just give in right away. So he had to send these plagues. So he sent the plagues of turned the water to blood, sent the frogs, the lice, the flies, killed all their livestock, the boils, the hailstorms, the locusts, darkness, and then the death of the firstborn. Now you would think after seeing all that the people of Israel would know that God's all in this, and he's behind us, and he's backing us, and he's going to lead us to the promised land. Well, Pharaoh finally released them, let them go. So they packed up all their belongings, and they headed out to the promised land. You know, the Bible says there was a shortcut to the promised land. They didn't have to go through the wilderness. But again, God had a plan. You don't take shortcuts to get around God's plan. So they're all packed up, they're happy, they're free from Pharaoh, and they're headed across the wilderness, and they're headed to the promised land. And lo and behold, what happens? They come to the Red Sea. So by this time, God's done hardened Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh's done changed his tune. So here he comes with his soldiers, and he's heading toward them. Here they are at the Red Sea. They can't go nowhere. So what do we do? Complain. Although they've seen all these things that God's done to get them released, to make Pharaoh change his mind, they still complain. So we'd be better off being slaves back there instead of being killed here. So what God do? He split the sea. They all walked, says they walked across on dry land. You ever been swimming in the river or the lake? It's nasty down there and muddy on it. But it says they went across on dry ground. Well, they all got across, And then here comes Pharaoh's soldiers. Well, then the sea closes up and kills all them. Well, now we're happy again. Life's good. So here we go. Well, now we're traveling. And we'll travel a few more days. I think 3 more days, it says. And what happens? They run out of water and they get thirsty. Instead of saying, God, we're out of water. We know you're leading us, but we need water. That ain't what they do. What do? They complain. Let's look at Exodus 15, 22 through 25. It says, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went out into the wilderness of Sur. And they went 3 days into the wilderness, and they found no water. Now when they came to Marah, they could not drink the water of the Marah, for the water was bitter. Therefore the name was called Marah. And the people complained against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord. The Lord showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. It didn't say Moses or the people cried out to the Lord. Moses. They all complained that Moses. You know, sometimes we like to bring our complaints to Pastor. Pastor, I got this going on, I got that going on, and I need you to pray for me, I need you to fix this. And instead of you just taking time and you pray, you ask God to help you through this situation. So they're traveling, start traveling some more. They're all happy now because God made the water sweet. They got water to go on, but now they're getting hungry. So God give them water. Wouldn't you think he'd give them food too if they just asked for it? Is that what they done? No. Look at Exodus 16, 2 and 3. Said, then the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, oh, that we had only died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Really? They think God let them out there, just going to let them starve to death now instead of having enough faith to go, we know God is leading us out here. We know he's going to do it somehow. We don't know how. He's got a plan to take care of us. Don't know how it's going to happen. But God, you're going to take care of us. But no, that ain't what they did. Complain. You know, it's something we do pretty regular. Every time we get in a little jam, every time something don't go our way, do we take time to pray? No, we take time to complain, though. We can complain with the best of them. I done lost my spot. Anyway. I'm getting there. Anyways, so they start traveling some more. They're all happy and traveling along. And they're running into, now they're getting, did I read about us getting hungry? I done forgot where was that. I just read 16:3, didn't I? Okay. So yeah, so God, what God do? He filled their camp with quail and bread. Said the whole camp was filled with it. So once again, he bailed them out. Now we're all fat and happy again. Here we go. We take off traveling some more. Things are going our way. So we travel a few more days, and now we're thirsty again. Oh, they're thirsty and then they're hungry. They're thirsty and then they're hungry. Yeah. So this time what happens? Let's look at Exodus 17, 2 and 6, or 2 through 6. It says, therefore the people contended with Moses and said, give us water, that we may drink. So Moses said to them, why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and said, why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moses cried out to the Lord, what shall I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand the rod in which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you on the rock of Horeb, and shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, and the people may drink. So once again, God's took care of them, give them water to drink. So we're all fat and happy, and here we go again. We've got all our goats and mules, and we're headed across the wilderness. And finally reached the promised land. Well, God brought about a slavery. He sent all these plagues to give them water when they was thirsty. He gave them food when they was hungry. He gave them more water. Oh, yeah, he led them. They didn't know how to get to where they was going. He put a cloud in front of them to follow during the day. And a cloud of fire, I think it said, at night. Well, they seen all these things, but they still have doubt. So they've reached the promised land. And Moses sends out some scouts. I think a leader from each tribe. Go check out the land. See if it's what God said it was. So they go into the promised land, and sure enough, they see land flowing with milk and honey. It said they cut down a cluster of grapes to bring it back to show the people. And it took a pole between two men's shoulders to carry the grapes back. Awesome land. It's fertile. So they come back and show all the people of Israel. And they're all getting excited. They know this is the land God promised them. I mean, it only takes a couple of people to aggravate a whole crowd. One person starts complaining, he complains to one, then that person complains, now you got two, and then four, and so on. Well, the land's there, and this is the land God promised them. But some of the soldiers come back and said, it's full of giants. They're huge. We can't take these people. We look like grasshoppers up against them. Instead of going, God, here's our land, thank you. We know we got these people over here that's possessing it right now, but show us how we're going to take it over. No. That ain't what they've done. They complain. So let's look over at Numbers 14, 2 and 3. So it says, all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in the wilderness. Why has the Lord brought us to this land to fall by the sword, and our wives and our children should become victims? Would it not be better if we returned to Egypt? You know, they went all this way, and the land right there, all they got to do is go take it. And they're willing to go back to Egypt to be slaves instead of putting their trust in the Lord. Complaining. So God's had enough of this complaining by now. He's tired of it. He knows he had a plan. He knows he's led his people to the land he promised them. But all they've done is griped and complained the whole way. They're right here at the land, and they won't go in. Let's look at Numbers 14, 11 and 12. So then the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me? With all the signs which I have performed among them, I will strike them with pestilence and disinherit them. You know, if you don't follow God's direction, He'll disinherit you. You know, it's not a good thing if you don't have God's coverage. You can't go out on your own. You can, but you're not going to succeed. So Moses told the people, God's aggravated with you. He's had enough. You're on your own. He's not going to cover you no more. Well, God's not a yo-yo. He don't go back and forth. He was done with them. But people thought, well, we'll go do it now. After Moses told them what was going on. So let's look at Numbers 14, 39 through 35. But then Moses told these words to all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early the next morning and went to the top of the mountain, saying, here we are, and we will go up to the place which the Lord has promised, for we have sinned. And Moses said, now why do you transgress the command of the Lord? For this will not succeed. Do not go up, lest you be defeated by your enemies. For the Lord is not among you. Well, I can't even say that. The Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you have turned away from the Lord, and the Lord will not be with you. But they presumed to go up to the mountain. Nevertheless, neither the ark of the covenant of the Lord nor Moses departed from the camp. Then the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountain came down and attacked them and drove them back as far as Morah. So they thought they could just go on without God's protection. Or they thought God would say, okay, they're going to do it this time. But no, God had had enough. So we got to be careful when we complain and complain and complain. We don't want God to leave us out there on that rock alone. You know, it's easy to complain about stuff, but it's also easy to stop and pray. You don't have to pray for 45 minutes. You can say a quick little blessing, something you're facing, and God's going to get you through it. He may not get you through it the way you want to go. That wasn't their plan there, but that was God's plan, and He was going to get them through it if they'd have stuck with it. So just think about that the next time you're complaining. The next time your hair don't look right. The next time somebody asks you to help out at the church. You know, that's all I've got for this, but we're going to have a little altar call if the worship team will come up. And has God been speaking to you about something and you've been putting it off? Have you been complaining about something and you know God's after you to get it done and you just put it off? Well, as the team plays, we're going to open up the altars. And you can come up front and say, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't do what you asked me to do. Or God, I need your help. Just show me what to do. You can pray at your seat, or you can come up here. If you need somebody to pray with you, I'll pray with you. So come on.